Welcome to Wednesday Web Chat. This is Carl Lewis, your host from Vision 33. Today's topic, we're going to be doing a little bit of an introduction, and I mean just a real introduction to SAP S4HANA Public Cloud Edition. So I don't in any way, shape, or form want to represent myself as an expert of any measure at all, but just kind of a tour guide today to give you a little bit of a preview. So today I want to talk a little bit about SAP S4HANA Cloud Public Edition. Now, this is a new product for Vision 33. We now represent three SAP products, SAP Business One, as most of you know, and most of our customers run today, SAP Business by Design, and SAP S4HANA Cloud Public Edition is the newest piece of software in our briefcase. It is a different product. Right? It is not kind of an upscale version of either of the other two. It's its own separate code base. And really it was, written to be born in the cloud and takes advantage of all of the technology capabilities that being in the cloud brings to us. So it is a ready to run and pre-configured set of processes. There are 700 plus processes in the entire collection of applications that make up this suite, right? And the product is more mature with improved functionalities. So a lot of lessons get learned over the years by software producers like SAP. And so an awful lot of what they have learned has been brought forward into this new product. In other versions of cloud products, data migrations are difficult, but data migrations are possible with this product. So a lot of master data is what we're talking about now, can be brought forward into this product when you begin. There is the capability of having limited user-defined fields. But as I understand it, and we've advocated this for a long time anyway, that no history is really allowed, right? That doesn't take out the necessity for opening balances and things of that nature. And one of the biggest things that I believe really is a bonus is automatic half-yearly releases and upgrades that are really kind of automatic in the background. They happen on a schedule every kind of February and August of the year. And I've even seen, a little bit about that. We'll show you a slide here in a second. I do wanted to let you know that we have a new colleague at Vision 33, Ijlal Nakvi, and he's listening in today. And if we have some questions at the end, Ijlal will be the most appropriate person to answer those questions, certainly not me. He is the Senior Director of SAP Cloud Solutions at Vision 33. And we want to welcome him to Vision 33 and thank him for joining us on this introduction about a product that he's going to be very, very involved in. It's also a different approach, right, with this product. As you know, many of you with Business One have multiple add-ons and possibly customizations and a lot of things going on. But there's a very strict focus with this cloud product, S4HANA Cloud, to fit to standard. Really what that means is the goal is to adapt to the product and the processes as they are. Right. And that's because it's been a system that's pre-configured from kind of a model company. And you're really trying to take a customer and put them into the software and not do a lot of changes. And because the product, as you'll see in some other illustrations I'll show you, is so wide and deep and has so much functionality, it's really unnecessary to add a lot of things to it, like we have with Business One. It's very flexible, and that's been wonderful. But it would be better, in my estimation, if you didn't have to do those things and the core was just bigger and better, which is really what's happening here with S4. Because of this, it's a faster implementation and a lower effort compared to, typical on-premises systems, right? A faster time to value. And because of this standardization and trying to keep this scope contained, consulting is a bit less technical, you'd say, or you could say consulting is a bit less creative, let's say, and customers have a significant responsibility during the implementation. So it's just a different approach to deploying. And that becomes, important because, as you'll hear SAP talk about, it's designed to be deployed in weeks, not months or years. So this is the kind of the upgrade path that I was talking to you about. And you can see here that every, February, and August, that's the schedule where new releases happen. They happen behind the scenes automatically for cloud customers. And so as you have experienced with SAP Business One, those of you that have known me over the years know that I've advocated typically that you only go down the upgrade path about every 2 years because it's exceptionally interruptive and could take as long as a week, depending on the complexity of your particular configuration with add-ons and customizations and all kinds of other things. So this is very much unlike that. It happens in the background. You get notified about it, but it's completely transparent and basically invisible, right, for you. So it just takes that experience away, from the entire life cycle of the product is much smoother in the background. A huge benefit for customers that definitely want to stay up to date on their software, take advantage of new features and fixes and additions all along the way. So they have a phrase, continuous innovation updates, that I really like, and that's what this is all about. To give you an idea of kind of where this fits, and later today at close to the end, I'm going to ask Ijlal to answer this question a little bit more in depth about where does it fit and who is a good fit for this software and who is the software a good fit for, right? Is that there's emphasis on finance, procurement processes, sales, right, and service. And if those are the things that you really need, the industries that really kind of fit this section really well are professional services, the public sector, higher education, engineering, construction and operations, media, and financial services. If you also need manufacturing, research and development, asset management, and supply chain, well, then, it's really for, I guess, IM&C. I'm trying to remember here, industrial machining and industrial manufacturing and components. That's what it stands for. High tech, automotive, and discrete mining, right? So that gives you an idea of kind of the industries that are specifically addressed in the software. And, what's wonderful is, as I understand it, you can deploy all of these top four and wait to do asset management at a later time. So it doesn't have to be a complete big bang where we have to do everything at once. You can kind of do it in stages, right, as well, which is another way of really getting value quickly, rather than having to do it all, which stresses out and stretches out the implementation cycle to be a much longer wait for return on your investment. One of the things that you'll notice about SAP S/4HANA is that a lot of the ideas that you see in terms of screen expression, right, and the design and the user interface have been kind of copied and modeled so that they've brought a lot of that to the SAP Business One package that many of you use. But there you'll see how much more kind of wide and deep the application is. So this is kind of a home screen we're seeing. And if we just kind of start the tour, it's going to take us through a series of kind of screenshots and start us off in finance. So steer your business effectively, boost efficiency while embedding compliance and risk management capabilities that feature built-in best practices, reporting, and predictive analytics. So I can make each one of these screens a little bigger for you if you want to take a look at them with me. So here is a kind of a closing task completions, for in the finance area. So things that have to be done before the end of a month or before the end of the year, things of that nature. And usually, these dashboards, a lot of these sections are drillable. And so when you see a chart and a graph, you can get to the data behind them by clicking on them. These are not live. They're just screenshots that we're able to see. And so there's, one of the 7 in this collection. Here's another one in the finance area, which is a kind of market segments, actuals, they call it. So various questions that would get asked and different people in finance would have need for these particular screens and functionalities and analytics that are all built in, which is nice. This one is displaying journal entries, and I like that it says in T account view. That's something that I've been asked for sometimes in SAP and Business One. It doesn't show up. So it's got some nice functionality in that case in the financial area. 4 of 7 here. And this one is another version of a home screen that could be created. So usually when you see a home screen, it's either for like a department or it could be for an individual. And, many people would have access to it and would have, things like buttons down here to jump to other screens and pages, right, that are available. And again, a large collection of KPIs, right, which we're familiar with that functionality in Business One, and analytics that can be placed on the screen, typically clicked on, enlarged into a larger report where you can filter and do various things of that nature. And again, in finance, a different screen, enlarge this screenshot. So this is a supervised collections work list. So obviously a lot of collections to be done here in this company, and a screen designed just to work from a collections perspective. And 6, this is kind of a group of financial statements. So you can see that there's a financial statement here, and you can imagine that all of these carrots that you see could be expanded, right? And you'd see more detail in the report as you wanted to see more detail in the report. And the last one of the financial screens they're sharing with us here on this site is a goods and invoice receipt reconciliation overview. So all kinds of possibilities, and you can see that this one's even got things below it that we can't scroll to. I think I just messed myself up, but we'll go back there so we can take a look at some of the other sections. Sometimes things just don't work out the way you planned, unfortunately. In any case, my goal there was really to just give you kind of a look at, the feel of the application, talk a little bit about, where it's going to fit. And Ijal, if you are out there, I'd like to kind of ask you a question to talk to us about.
Right here.
Good. About, what are the industries that the product is really best suited for? And are there industries where it doesn't really fit well?
Yeah, interesting question. And I think in order to properly address this, a bit of background would be important. So historically, in the large enterprise space, where the predecessor solutions of S/4HANA Public Cloud Edition stem from the R2, R3 ECC systems, followed by the S4 Private Cloud or on-prem systems, SAP has historically divided itself or its solutions for that space into 25 industries. And that list is also growing. It's about 27 now. And for each of those industries, they've got industry specific inbuilt best practices. With the evolution of the product into the public cloud space, as you very effectively mentioned, it is software as a system, it is cloud based and fit to standard. All of those processes that SAP has historically maintained as best practices in the predecessor solutions, most of them have been migrated into public edition. That being said, the solution is still being evolved and refined to completion. So, as you mentioned, distribution companies, wholesale distributors, trading companies, retailers, professional services. So, services oriented organizations, S/4HANA Public Cloud is very good for those industries as it stands right now. Discrete manufacturing is another very, very effective fit. However, complex industries such as oil and gas or complex mining and agriculture, maybe aerospace and defense, those maybe not so much just as yet. But project-based companies, engineering and construction, industrial engineering, those industries, this product works very well in. Services sectors, it works very well in. Retail, it works very effectively in. And yeah, so I'd say sweet spots would be 4 major industries: professional services, trading, wholesale distribution, and engineering and construction.
Interesting. So one other question I can ask about. I mean, I've been told that basically this is a different code base. So, but it has inherited a lot of the functionality, as you mentioned, kind of through that history of products with SAP. How much of the code base is sort of like, for lack of a better way of saying it, kind of copy pasted, refined, and really put into more of a purposeful structure, just so it fits better in the cloud rather than on premises?
So I think a major shift occurred when SAP moved from ECC to HANA systems. So that was when a bulk of the changes in the technical code base were brought into play. With ECC, for instance, there were over 1,000 tables for just finance with hundreds of thousands of fields. And that was just as part of the evolution of the product as it began evolving and growing. Over time, it was over 1,000 tables in just one module of finance. And now with simple finance, which comprises the functionalities of finance, costing and controlling, and treasury, the three modules that were historically ECC separate, there are some total of 48 tables. And this is from the shift between ECC to S4. However, with public cloud, I wouldn't say there's a quantum shift from on-prem to public cloud. However, it does follow the same technical principle of in-memory computing and simplification of the code structure as S4 when it was first introduced in the mid 2010s. It's the same one that's been maintained for that.
It's interesting that it's become, the number of tables and things is so significantly smaller, but the capabilities are, pretty significant, just as they were with the other on-premises products.
Absolutely. And this is something that SAP is actively pushing to its customers for adoption as well, because not only does this drastically change the user experience in terms of resource intensive processes such as payroll operations or MRPs or depreciation runs, which usually historically used to take up significant time as well as resources. These are now done significantly faster, but also this changes the perspective of any ERP system of it being implemented once and then continue to be run as is till it reaches a stage of obsolescence or unless there's an issue. This changes that mindset to from reactive systems to proactive innovation and continuous innovation, where everything is on cloud. And with the power of compute that you receive as a SaaS-based ERP system, SAP is perpetually, as you very effectively mentioned, twice a year automatically is updating and upgrading the systems. So you're always on the latest version. And it is as simple and seamless as updating your phone one evening.
Yeah, that's what I think is remarkable, and really it changes the ERP experience for customers so much when that upgrade issue is really off the table, and just makes their lives much better, and the ability to take advantage of modifications and enhancements is just it's kind of part of the experience as opposed to
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and then couple that with, just because of this enhanced technical base, couple that with the ability of using mobile solutions as natively as you're using your desktop ERP. Couple that with embedded analytics, where the ERP system is the one that's hosting analytics with every single tile, from as something as simple as a purchase acquisition, showing you in real time any analytical insights that you've set, pre-built industry-specific best practice-based KPIs on your main screen in real time. I mean, I've got a purchase order analytical report open on one screen while you're entering purchase orders. I will be able to see my dashboard move in real time, which historically, when we had to go through those 2 tiers of business warehouse and ERP separately, was unheard of.
Yeah, so people didn't, probably realize that a lot of ECC functions were not real time, in terms of that. And there was still some kind of, call it, for lack of a better phrase, batch processing, right, that had to go on, where now we're really in real time, which we've been familiar with on the business one side for a while. But in the enterprise space, this is new, which is pretty powerful. Well, now you can help me with this too, because I've asked this question, because I get asked this question a lot. Where does the name S4 come from? I'm going to do my best to answer that one. I'm pretty confident about where does the name HANA come from, but let's see if I can get these right today here.
Sure.
So from what I've heard about S4, it really kind of stems from the SAP Business Suite, and they refer to this as version 4, thus the S4. Is that what you've heard as well?
Absolutely, spot on.
I'm amazed.
I mean, there's another variation of this, but I think more folklore than the actual technical reasoning. It's Suite for HANA because it says for HANA as a single phrase or a single word. They just for is replaced by the FOR, so it's the Suite for HANA, the suite to be run on the HANA database.
Yeah, very good. And HANA, high performance analytic appliance, high performance analytic appliance. It's been out for a while, and I think our customers that are running their systems on HANA might be familiar with it, but many of them don't really know that that's an acronym as well. So, well, it's good. Well, we hope this has been helpful, and we encourage you to stay tuned. This is probably the first thing that we have done to introduce SAP S4HANA Cloud Public Edition. You'll be hearing more, And we just want to keep you informed about all the things that Vision 33 sort of has in its bag of tricks these days, and let you know that if you are feeling like you want to investigate other options for ERP software, that we have some things you should be taking a look at. And because you know what, those of you that have been around with me all these years know that we weren't always the size organization we are, right? My first day at Vision 33, there were 9 of us, and today there's almost 500 of us. So organizations grow and change, and their requirements for ERP software grow and change also. And if you're one of those companies and you're wondering about what your next step is, you should talk to us, because we have some things that you would be interested in. Islal, thank you for joining us today. Appreciated your insight.
No, thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you all again on another episode of Wednesday Web Chat.